So there's a gap in the market, but is there a market in the gap? While recent data may show real estate overtaking oil and gas to become the third largest contributor to GDP, practitioners within the sector are reporting declining sales. To share just how economic reforms have reshaped trends in the market and outlooks for the new year, we have Chinyere Okogeri-Agwuncha, founder and lead realtor at CHEXTON Global. We also have Trust Bassey, lead consultant at TRID NEXUS Limited, and finally Ewenla Mustapha, estate surveyor and public affairs analyst. So we're going to get into the conversation. I'm going to begin with you, Chief, if you don't mind me calling. You have been in the industry for quite a while, right? And the tweets, if we can just have that tweet up that was shared by Sir Jairus, that fluctuation and eventually decline over the past 3 years, is it something you can relate to?
Yes, it is something I could relate to. The market slowed, but not because real estate lost value, but because there was a reduction in purchasing power. Yes, so it has been really hard for people, clients to invest in real estate now because of the inflation. I mean, for the first time last year, right, January, we had sales almost every day. We sold houses, sometimes 2 houses in a day, sometimes 3 houses in a day. And then when it got to June, we had crickets. A week passed and nothing, yes. So clients were being more cautious, asking more questions. There was this trust issue. And then I would say the inflation really hit so hard. More clients wanted instrumental payment plans. Yes, so it really, really affected all of us in the real estate industry.
You mentioned the trust issue. Yes. What was that about?
Okay, so now with the inflation, with the demolitions happening, yes. So we had to cope with inflation. There was lower purchase power for clients to buy houses. And then also cope with the demolitions because clients did not understand what was happening. We had to do more explanation. In fact, once they call, we're hearing about demolitions, so hope this house is not going to be demolished. Hope this house is safe. We have to explain and explain. Sometimes we explain and we end up explaining again just to close the deals. Whereas before, it's just straightforward. They see the house, they like it, they come, they inspect, they send their lawyers, they do due diligence, and they're buying. So now it's more stressful. It takes a longer time to close deals. Deals that used to take a week, now it takes, deals that used to take a day, now takes like a week, back and forth.
And you go explain as they put it.
Convincing in between the developer, the client. Sometimes when the client send their representative, the representative out of fear will tell the client that I'm not sure about this property.
And that's that's a lot to deal with. And I'll come to Ewenla now. You have been in the industry for a decade plus, I assume. And you've seen a lot of reforms, even in this administration. She mentioned inflation, different things that have squeezed the pockets of the average clients. How have you managed that, and what perhaps has triggered clients the most over the past couple of years?
All right, thank you very much for having me, Joanna. So I must say that the real estate market, not just in Nigeria and globally, is a very interesting space. We've seen a lot of changes, both positive and negative. But if we're going to narrow down the conversation to Nigeria, there's been so many things going on in our real estate sector. But for me as a person, I've been doing real estate for close to two decades. And I make bold to say that it keeps getting better. Yes, on the part of the purchasers, there's a lot of hiccups here and there. And one of the biggest problems we have in this country as a people is there are so many negative narrative flying over everywhere in terms of the demolitions, in terms of our inflation. But the good thing that has happened recently since this president took over is we saw a decline in our inflation rates. In 2024, our inflation was about 20 to 30% inflation rate. Now we're talking about 15 to 15% inflation rate, which I think has, for me, increased purchasing power of people. Yes, if you're talking about real estate, it's a capital-intensive market. So it's not for the babies. However, can we do better in terms of our service delivery, in terms of in real estate sector? Yes, we can do better. But as a country, last year I did quite a number of sales. I won't say it was peculiar alone to me. A lot of all my friends who did quite a number of sales. But as a people, if you narrow it down to our deficit, our housing deficit, we're not where we're supposed to be as a nation. Nigeria is a country of over 220 million people. We're talking about 20 million housing deficits. We're talking about houses being demolished. Just a few minutes ago, I saw where your colleagues ruled out what's going on in the Makoko. Something similar to happen in Lekki Palm City too. Houses were demolished over the weekend, not because they didn't have government titles, but because they were not built properly. The houses were almost tilting to the right, and that's the result of quackery when everybody has gone into real estate development. So there's just so much going on, but again, real estate will continue to be a viable sector. I must tell you that for free, but it just takes everybody to understand that the real estate contributes so much to our GDP.
Yes.
And as a country, is a sector we cannot joke with.
Indeed. And you have said it keeps getting better over the years.
Yes.
Trust, do you agree with that? What has been your experience over the years? And how have you evolved with some of these changes?
Okay, thank you, Joanne, for having me. So basically, I think that real estate keeps getting better because we keep getting more intentional clients. You know, anyone that wants to purchase real estate now is very intentional about what he or she wants to get. So that is one thing that is favorable to the market, because now you have, you know, directions of what you're buying, where you're buying, and anyone that is coming to the market is very, very intentional. So I would really say it keeps getting better. Yeah.
And Chinyere, how have you also adapted to some of these wild changes? Your clients as well, you know, some of them also believe that, or some of us believe that a good number of them are in the diaspora. How are they reacting to some of the changes that they are seeing in the Nigerian real estate market, and how are you managing them, aside from over-explaining?
Honestly, there's been a lot of panic. There's been a lot of panic. Every day it's panic. Every day is fear. Every day it's like Nigeria is not safe. And then you hear you can make a post, and in your comment section, you see clients saying, don't invest, they're going to demolish the house. So someone is already on his way to investing and then sees that comment and then gets discouraged. So we are constantly battling this fear of the client. So what are we doing differently? We are now shifting from marketing, telling you the property is beautiful, to now teaching you. We are doing teaching now, informative marketing, teaching you about houses, about demolitions, about titles, land titles and documentation and all of that. Yes, land title and documentation. We are now doing more information-based marketing rather than saying this house is pretty. Now what we are doing is we are teaching you that this property is safe. We are focusing on safety now than beauty. So that is how we have shifted. Yes.
I remember I used to see a lot of videos. You see a realtor, you know, showing you around a particular. I don't see many of those videos as much anymore.
No, because that's not working anymore. These clients now are more cautious. They are more cautious in investing. So that can't move them anymore. They need a reason to invest, strong reasons why they should invest, not just the house is beautiful. What about the structure? Who is the developer? Does he have integrity? Can we trust him? Is this house going to shake? Is this house going to bend? Is it going to sink? Those are the questions.
So it's more about education and sensitization. You wanted to say something?
If you allow me to butt in a bit, you see, the impunity in the real estate sector has gone on for too long. I must be very honest with you, particularly in a state like Lagos State. We've seen developers build houses on waterways. We've seen developers build houses on drainages. We've seen so much. So if a government like Lagos State is stepping up to say, you know what, we have to put a stop to this impunity, because Lagos State is seen, let me tell you, Lagos State is Nigeria. Lagos State is seen as a place, everybody in diaspora is looking up to Lagos State. If Lagos State don't get it right, then the rest of the other states in this country will not get it right. Lagos State is housing about 22 million people. This is where everything is going on. So if the government is stepping up to put a stop to that madness, I think is way, long overdue for that. If you go to, and I want to understand that. So yes, it's giving us a bad image to the international community. However, However, we must do the right thing. But where we have issue as a people is where government, takes up demolitions of, properties without making other plans for people in the interim. You can imagine what happened at Yanawuro last year. Yanawuro last year was on the news for all the bad reasons. The government kept demolishing without making alternative provisions for people to live. In a saner world, in the other climes that we imitate, if you want to demolish properties, what you do is you must make available shelters for people to stay. In the interim, else those people will become social vices. They will become menace to the society. That's why when I saw the news of what's going on at Makoko, I felt really bad because this is another madness about to start again. The government is saying you want to demolish because people built houses under the pipeline. That's a good, yes, we're talking about safety here. But what plans, you don't just demolish and leave those people living in the water. I saw the video, I was moved to tears. They're leaving them in the water. I saw babies, I saw people crying. What plans are you putting in place to take them to a temporary shelter, pending when you can provide a permanent structure for them? And that's why we're saying that in a state like Lagos, people will continue to talk about somebody like Lateef Jakonde, the late Lateef Jakonde, who was in the office for about just fairly 5 years and did well over 30,000 housing units in fairly 4 years while he was in office.
So the government definitely has a role here in building trust.
In building trust and even, making available social housing.
Right.
If you are talking about social housing, you can see sometimes what is about to happen at Yanawuro now is that the government is saying they want to regenerate those areas. It's called urban renewal, urban regeneration, because they felt that Yanawuro is not giving them a good picture, and they want it to look like a city.
But the perception the demolition alone gives them is also negative. Yes, let me come to trust now, and he has mentioned a number of reforms we need to see from the government. What other reforms do we need to see within the real estate sector, either from the government or the practitioners within the sector itself?
So basically, the number one, I think, is title, reforms of titles, right? If they are to give titles to properties, it should follow due process. I feel like today you're hearing that this property has this title, and tomorrow you're hearing that, oh, the government did not approve of it. And then you're wondering, how did I get it? Right? So I think there should be strong reform on title for properties. Then another thing I think is consistency in these reforms. They are rolling in reforms today, and tomorrow something else is coming in. And they are not following through. You demolish a house today saying, oh, you want to do this, you want to re-strategize. And in the next 3-4 years, somebody's coming to build a house right there and got the same, title from you, or the same advantage from you to continue the building. I feel that is one thing that the government should really work on, consistency on their reforms. Not this government is coming in today, we're getting something different, and next 4 years another government comes in, and then we're all just
transparency there. I'm coming to you now, Chinyere, and this time affordability constraints, the prices of real estate these days, even for the renting community. There are some people that said that, oh, this, what do they call it? This thing that Dirty December guys, I can't believe the word is leaving my, where they rent shortlets. It's driving prices even for the renting community up. So let us into some of the things that are driving the prices in real estate up and how shortlets are becoming a menace. $600 for one day. I heard that one over Dirty December.
That one, $600, is because of the IJGB. I just got back. So you see this I just got back people. They are always making it seem like there's so much money. They're always making it seem, see, if the price increases and you don't pay, the price will reduce. It's that simple. Whatever you allow continues. So they allowed it and it just continued and kept getting higher, and it's going to keep getting higher. Trust me. It's going to keep getting higher and higher. And also, the cost of buying these houses increased. You don't expect a buyer that used to buy a house for 100 million, buys it for 350 to still rent it out for 80K per day. It's not possible.
Cost of construction.
Cost of construction. So if the government can reduce taxes on importation of these materials, like it's going to help.
Some regulation when it comes to
some regulation
pricing.
when it comes to pricing. If they can reduce the cost, because developers are complaining a lot about this. Also, infrastructure most times these developers end up doing the infrastructure themselves. That is roads. The governments are supposed to do the roads so that it's easy for them to build, take the trucks to site, for clients to come to site. But the government is not doing that. So the developers have to step in and do this themselves. And what happens? The price for the road has to be, you know, added to the price of the house. So everything is just affecting real estate, inflation, government not regulating everything.
And we have about 2 minutes left, and I'm going to come to you, Ewenla. Let's focus on one good thing, right, that some believe the government has done. That is the Ministry of Finance Incorporated Real Estate Investment Fund. They're offering single-digit interest rates, right, so that everyone can have access to housing. Tell us a bit more about that in 2 minutes.
Well, I think that's a step in the right direction. We've had conversations over and over that in a country where people buy property and pay one-off is insane. So if government is coming up with this MREF arrangement, I think it's a step in the right direction. Because so people can now buy property and pay for 30 years, pay for 35 years, and that's what happens in the Sena crimes. But here in Nigeria, people buy property 1 billion, pay the same day. That's insane. That's why, as a country, it's not helping us. So when people can buy property, but the idea of mortgage is not totally popular in Nigeria. That's the honest truth. I've had people who wanted to subscribe to mortgage plan here and there, but these procedures, the documentations, at the end of the day, they would discourage you, and you just want to, back up. But I think in the long run, if it works, again, when government brings out these policies, it's always very good on paper. But the implementation is always a problem, and the implementation and execution is always a problem. So I think if it works, it's good.
I think we'll have to do this again and perhaps get more information on this and what more the government needs to do. But thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for the conversation on the show, getting an insight into the real estate market.